Welcome to the Purpose Cycle podcast. This is the podcast that brings listeners impactful practices to help you towards fruition and fulfillment. Welcome to the beginning of season 2. So just before we start the episode, I want to make a big shout out to my sponsor, Suit Up Apparel. Suit Up Apparel match style and comfort together to bring you the ultimate combination. The Purpose collection is live on the website, so make sure you check out my picks for the best ways to thrive in business. Now, also, you guys can get 20% off with the code PURPOSE at checkout. That is PURPOSE at checkout for 20% off. From weddings to business, make sure that you stay sharp and suit up. Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Purpose Cycle podcast. First of all, thank you to everyone who listened to Season 1 and found it really valuable. I really enjoyed recording the episodes and found a lot of value from the many guests that we have had on the show so far, and today's no different. I'm actually joined by a really special guest at 30 Things at 30. I'm joined by my fiancée, Sarah. How are you doing, Sarah?
I'm alright, thanks, John. It's been a while. Not been on your podcast before. It's taken you ages to get me on. It's
been queuing up.
It's going to be a good one.
It is. And you're definitely the first choice for this episode as well. So
yeah,
amazing.
Sure
at 30 Things at 30. Just recording in our office overlooking the Minster, where we'll be getting married in October. How are you feeling about that?
It's definitely becoming more real after all of our Zoom meetings with the Reverend and all those sorts of things. So butterflies are starting to kick in.
It's nice, isn't it, to have the view and be able to sort of look at it and think, right, that's where we're going to be in October.
Exciting times.
And we'll both be 30 by that point. And it links nicely to the episode.
You're not supposed to tell everybody that I'm going to be 32. We didn't agree on that.
We'll edit that bit out. I'm going to be 30 by the time we get married.
You are.
Yeah, and you'll be an undisclosed age. Today's episode is basically 30 Things at 30. So I'm going to bring 30 lessons to you that I've learned by the time I turn 30, which by the time this episode airs, it could be pretty much by then. And I'm going to read out 10 things I've learned, and then Sarah and I are going to sort of talk about what we think about them, really. And I can imagine that I'll be really, really sort of like taking it in and looking at them, and then I can probably guess right now there'll be a few, Sarah, that you call out and you think, no, not too sure about that one. But that's why we're here on the podcast. Honesty is key. So,
and we all know that I'm honest.
The first 10. So, lesson number 1, wake up early. From the time when I entered my 20s, I was probably getting up at about 10:30 in the morning on average, maybe a little bit later. I was at university. To be honest, I didn't really see the morning that rarely. And to a lot of people, our time of getting up is early. And I know you think I struggle in the morning to get up, but I do enjoy getting up when it's really light. And I find a lot of value in waking up early.
Which John doesn't do very often.
Brilliant.
Unless he has to.
Good start. Right, so, unless it's golf.
But Matt, unless it's golf, then you're up straight away.
Yeah, but I do find a lot of value in waking up early. It starts your day right as well. And, yeah, it just gets the ball rolling for the day, especially if you don't want to get up, because I do like to consider myself a morning person, but that sort of 7 o'clock onwards, I would say. But, 5:30 get-ups aren't always my cup of tea, but you need to get up and do something you don't want to do because it starts the day off right. And that's what I also do with the cold showers. So, second lesson, it's better to arrive an hour early than a minute late. And that's something that I've found as being like, in terms of work, especially to be really punctual. I'm notorious for turning up ridiculously early for job interviews. And that might not always be like a great thing. It might annoy a lot of employees and stuff, but it is better to turn up really early than be that slightest bit late, because it doesn't set a very good precedent as well. And I think if you really care about something, then you will make sure you're on time, or if that early. Lesson number 3, and this is a Henry Ford quote, by the way, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I really love that quote.
I like that.
Yeah.
That means I'm always right.
Why do you always think you can?
Yeah.
Always believe in yourself. There we go. And it's a great quote. I always think, I tell my class that. I always say to them, look, they're saying I can't do something. Well, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I think it's a great quote. Next lesson, we're on lesson number 4. The best thing, and this is my quote, the best thing about a crap day is that it ends at midnight. It's always good to go to sleep, put it to bed, literally, and wake up the next morning. Tomorrow is a new day, and it's about you going and seizing the day and making the most of the following day. Do you agree?
Absolutely. That's such a good quote to
Thank you,
let
Sarah.
everybody remember.
Well, if you want to read a bit more about it, it'll be available in my book, The Purpose Cycle, but we'll go into that later. Right, next one. I think you'll enjoy this because I wrote this quote as well. You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but you will be someone's flat white.
Like it.
It's always, I think I found that between, in the sort of teenage years and maybe a little bit of the 20s, it's always about, like, I always felt like I had to be liked by people, and I always sort of didn't chase popularity, but I'd be a bit of a people pleaser, and I'd say yes to everything, or I would just always hear someone's side of the story and agree with them, and I always wanted to make sure that I was well liked. But then as we sort of grew through my 20s, I realised actually these people might not have the best intentions for me in terms of value. Are they bringing value to my life? And are they even good people? And if they're slagging somebody off, really I should sort of call them out on it. So it's not about being everyone's cup of tea, is it? But it's about being someone's flat white. Next lesson. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And that was a quote that I got from Jay Morton, who was the younger DS from SAS Who Dares Wins. And he said that on a podcast I listened to the other day, and I found it really good because he said a lot of people say like you should only really put all of your energy into stuff that you like to do, but if you can really execute on the stuff you don't like to do, for example, if I'm going out and I'm in the garden like I was earlier and giving it my best, then I'll do that across a lot of things and I'll be able to do what I like to do better. So I think that's really important as well. And that's another one for the students, Sarah, because Sarah's a teacher as well. Handwriting. I say to them, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So, beyond that. Next lesson. If you had £84,600 in your bank account that would be replaced each day, you would spend as much of it as you could. With it being replenished and starting again the next day, you feel like you're wasting. If all that money, the rest of the money that you didn't spend got burnt, that's the amount of seconds that you have in each day. So think about that. Instead of pounds, think of it as seconds. And every second that you waste, you won't want to waste the money, so why would you waste the seconds? With that in mind, one of the things I've tried to do this year is start an online business, and obviously with the suits and things, I've made some sales while I've been asleep. So that is part of it. Like, I'm not wasting that time actually. I'm actively getting views on the website whilst I'm asleep, which I think is really good.
I swear there's a film that's all about time like that. Where it's like,
yeah, the Justin Timberlake film In Time. They use it as a currency, don't they? And there might be some like secret message to that. So that is 8 lessons. Lesson number 9. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we do care about is called passion. What are your thoughts on that, Sarah?
I think it's true. I think sometimes they can overlap, but I absolutely think that is great.
And I think it's good, yeah, and if you wanted to ever remind yourself when you are stressed over something that you are passionate about, well, actually I really care about it, I think it does give you that bit of comfort to carry on. This is a big one for me over the last decade or so. Embrace the process and always acknowledge the facts that you are not the finished article. And I used to find it really difficult to cope with failures or even setbacks. And I thought, well, I should have my life figured out by now. Even at the age of 25, 26, I should be able to accomplish whatever. And I always found that I just kept trying to evolve. And obviously that's where the idea of the purpose cycle was born. So, Sarah, we've done the first 10 lessons. Which ones resonated the most with you?
Well, as I am an early riser, I think the waking up early one is absolutely a key thing that I've always managed to do and value loads, because I always get more done in my day by getting up super early. I always find on an evening when you crash, how much productivity do you actually get done in the last 2 hours when you crash?
Yeah.
So to me, that's sleep time. So I
It
actually
certainly
think,
is for you.
even though people say, "Oh, I can't believe you're out, you're done in by 9 o'clock," I think, well, what do you actually do between 9 and 10, maybe 10:30? Just watch telly.
I do think there's a lull where you're like at 10 o'clock, for example, for me, I'm like just either scrolling through my phone or not doing anything, and I think, right, well, I should really just be asleep and recharging for tomorrow, where I am quite productive. Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, right, the next 10, or did you want to look at another one?
Nope.
The next 10 lessons. So this is part 2 of 3. Okay. So, are you reading them?
I'll read them.
Okay, I'll explain any of
You
them.
explain them to me. So, number 1, or 11, however you want to look at it. Always vote for the future you.
So this comes from James Clear's Atomic Habits, which is one of the best books I've read. It was literally, I was just completely engrossed by this. It's the second best book that I've actually read. But it's up there. It's unbelievable. And voting for the future you, basically, when you're faced with a decision, for example, going to the gym. I use this one quite a lot. And you've got the choice to go to the gym, and it's raining outside, it's cold, you don't want to go to the gym, you're going to have to get in your car and go all the way to the gym. But what does the future you want? Does the future you look better, healthier, in better shape by going to the gym? And it's the accumulation, isn't it? Because if you're going to not go once and you go, oh, it's only just this one time, you will do it again because you've made the excuses. So it's all about making sure that you are accumulating points and votes for the future you, as James Clear says. And the more votes you accumulate, the more you'll turn into what you're looking for.
Okay, like it. The next one. What you put out in vibrations to the universe, you get back.
So this is from the best book that I've read this year, until I read my own, of course. And that's Vex King's Good Vibes, Good Lives. And actually, we speak about the law of attraction quite a lot, but he has a different take on it. He calls it the law of vibration. And the law of vibration is basically the vibrations that you put out into the universe. So things that you say, things that you do. So it's not just about positive affirmations. It's about literally how you carry yourself and what you give to people. And if you do nice things, that's good vibrations. If things that you say, good vibes, okay? And that's what it's all about. What you put out, you get in return. It's a bit like kindness. It is infectious. And the more you do it, the better your life will be.
Okay, the next one. Another good one. You must not shield yourself from failure, no matter how nice the comfort zone feels.
So this is something that I wrote because I loved the comfort zone. And I always found myself in a little environment where I was comfortable. So for example, even like on my app on my phone where I go to play golf sometimes, and what I'd do is, if I wasn't playing very well, I would adjust my handicap so it would make me feel better about myself. I'd be like, oh, well actually if I'm playing off this handicap, I'm doing okay. If I was at the gym and I didn't feel particularly strong that day, I would take a few weights off because it's fine, it's being out of my comfort zone. And actually the most beneficial thing for me would be to keep those weights on, keep that resistance there and grow as a result. And you learn nothing by being in the comfort zone. If you're saying, oh right, well fine, I won't go into that seminar today, or I won't, read that book, or I won't go and do that run, then you're not going into the learning zone, as it were. The comfort zone, no learning takes place. You need to dig deep and go into that little world of pain, either physically or mentally, to find your true self. And that's what I do every morning with the cold showers. It is something I don't enjoy doing. I've actually got quite used to it now. And I've tried to change it to extreme cold to try and make it worse for myself.
Can you imagine if anybody could hear you in the morning other than me? Because it sounds like he's being attacked every time he's in the shower.
That's a
and
discomfort.
He's not being attacked by me.
Yeah, but how psyched am I when I come out? I'm ready for the day. And that's what it's all about.
I just don't feel like I could do it, but hats off to you there.
But you know what we mean about shielding yourself from the comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. I relate to that so much with the gym. And I know that my friend Amy, who comes to the gym with me, would be able to relate, because I'm the first person to go down at the gym in weight, because I'm scared I'm going to pull a muscle. I'm scared that I can't do it, and she's always like encouraging me to keep going. But I just always think, oh no, I don't want to. And I think it's absolutely that.
Yeah, you got to push through, haven't you? Because that's when you really find and discover yourself.
It links to this next one actually.
Yeah.
You either win or learn.
Yeah, so these perceived failures that you would say where you avoid them, if you actually reframe them as learning opportunities, then it's absolutely fantastic. So this isn't a failure as such, but I was leading some training today at my workplace, and I prepared some sort of a bit of a speaking sort of session where I would be delivering some training to the rest of my colleagues. And this morning I wrote in my journal, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to practicing my speaking skills. And there was a little bit of an unexpected speed bump where one of my colleagues, my boss, said, "Oh right, I just want to say a few things before you start." And that rocked me a little bit, because I had everything set up, and I actually went and set up half an hour before it was due to start. And that speed bump, actually I had to turn everything off and reset again whilst everybody was sat in the room. That could have really rocked me. And it started to, butterflies, jitters started to begin. I thought, well, what a learning experience this is. You'd be prepared for anything. And even though I sort of lost track of what my opening few words were going to be, and that's what always gets me started with speaking, it actually helped me quite a lot. So I've learned a lot from that experience, and actually a lot of people had praised me on this speech that I did earlier. So in turn, I did a bit of both. I won by learning, and I suppose that's what you can do every single time you face a situation.
That one reminds me of during lockdown. Well, we are in lockdown, but when we both sadly had COVID and we were off work, and you really wanted me to go for this job, and I did want to go for the job, but I wasn't that. It was like that comfort zone thing again. I wasn't like 100%, but I was worried about. I forgot, to be honest. I ended up going through it and thinking, do you know what? If I don't get it, it doesn't matter. I'll learn, and that is that.
Yeah, definitely, and 100%. That helps you grow. Oh, amazing. I'm glad that you've taken something from this.
If you really visualise what you want, it comes to you. Money.
No, well,
a new car.
You will see a lot from this. You'll get a lot from this quote, because we did this a lot with this house, didn't we?
Yeah.
We were in our old house and we had a corkboard, and we put up. Listeners of the podcast will already know this, but we put up pictures of what we wanted our dream house to look like.
It was actually my idea.
Yeah, to be fair.
Wasn't it?
Okay. Create my dream. Sarah got it, yeah. and it was a great exercise, because we printed off exactly what we wanted, and then we were able to sort of visualise it. And it wasn't actually this home specifically, but when you actually break the pictures down, a lot of it looks like this house, and we didn't know that this house type existed.
Do you know what I enjoyed about it? And it's going off on a bit of a tangent. So yeah, we did visualise, which is why I think we manifested this to come true. But the other part of that exercise, which was really good in a relationship, was the fact that we built it around compromise. So we both had to find our dream garden. We both had to find our dream living room, and then we looked at the pictures and we decided together, mutually, which ones we liked, and then that meant this process of getting the house ready has been a little bit easier.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose if you have a really clear vision, it seems quite not normal, but it's quite a seamless transition. Yeah, and it's quite a really really pleasant feeling when you get it. You're like, I've visualised this, and it seems so much better in the flesh than it was in my sort of dreams, really. So, lesson number 16.
Every person has a why. Most of us live our lives by accident. Fulfillment comes when we live our lives on purpose. Knowing your why provides a filter through which you can make decisions every day to act with purpose.
So this is a quote from Simon Sinek, and he's one of the biggest influences on what made me basically start this journey in self-development. The best thing is, and I actually count this as a birthday present to myself, a late one, that next Monday, this time next week, on time of recording, Simon's doing a talk at 9:30 at night, I think, UK time, and I'm there. I am absolutely there for it. I think it might even be at 10 p.m. and it's going to be so amazing. He's doing a speech to the book creators course that I'm a part of in terms of making the purpose cycle a reality, and I'm just so hyped to see Simon. And he actually has no idea that he's been such a big influencer. Even if I could grab a word of him, that'd be absolutely incredible. But that quote itself is unbelievable because it's about finding the why. And it says most of us live our lives by accident, which we do. We sort of just go along with it, and things just happen to us as we go through it. Well, actually, knowing your why provides a filter through which you can make decisions and act with purpose. So you're actually acting with intent. Everything that you do is for intent, for a better version of you. Do you agree, Sarah?
Yeah, 100. That's the premise of everything we do in school. So, 100%. To get the children at school to buy into what you're doing, you have to explain why you're doing it. It's the same with staff. And it's the same when you talk to yourself with what you want to do. Why am I doing it? You're not going to want to continue to do it if you really are bought into it.
Yeah.
And knowing why helps that.
Indeed.
So
Next one.
Just start.
Really simple one. Initiation is one of the steps of the purpose cycle, and the simplest way to put it, if I wasn't writing a book and had to hit word deadlines and targets, would be just start. There's two words, the most simplest ones ever, right? Because I've tried many different ideas and projects because I knew that it would build something greater, which would be this. And I acknowledge the fact that my YouTube or whatever would be not very good, but I just started to do it. I acknowledge the fact that my podcasting skills, like they are now, like I'm talking, not very good, but I just started. Everything that I'm doing, I know that it won't be the best version that I can produce, but I'm starting because it will ultimately get better. So
I think that's the procrastination argument, isn't it?
Yeah.
Putting things off, it'll only make it bigger and more heavy. Just getting on with it.
Yeah, just do it. Just start. I mean, Nike.
I was thinking that when you said just start, I thought that's why Nike's brand was so short and snappy.
Yeah, but even when you go to gym and you just think, I can't be bothered, like I've got my new membership, and you go, the first time you go, yeah, it's probably the hardest one, but you feel such a buzz afterwards because you're like, oh, I've actually done something really good. So yeah.
Okay, honesty is the most beautiful yet terrifying route.
Right, so I wrote this because obviously I knew that you were coming on, but it's like, it is terrifying when you begin to be honest, both with yourself and with someone that you really care about, because you're like thinking, oh, maybe all your insecurities and stuff, you're honest. So it's not about that quote. It's not about like, oh, I didn't take the bins out, you know, that sort of like white lie. It's about actually being like really truthful with yourself, like who you are. And when you actually start to be honest with yourself and other people, so your significant other is a big part of this one, because I always found it really difficult to be honest with myself. I found that as one of the hardest things ever. It's not like I was affirming positive things, but I was delusional. I was like, oh, that bill won't matter if I just stick my head in the sand, or, you know, this, I won't ever check my bank account, or, you know what, if I miss gym, it's fine, I'm in great shape anyway. But then if you lie to yourself like that and you don't have a great relationship with yourself, then how are you supposed to have a great, honest relationship with somebody else? And I think once I started to do that, I immediately became a better person, and I think that was probably one of the things that ended up leading to you, because I was like I was an honest person. I probably didn't like appear or seem more attractive to you, but we went through quite a long like way of getting together. Like we'd met and then quite some time later, but I was a completely different person in those times because I actually went through quite a lot of change. So that's probably one of the reasons why.
Honesty is so important, especially to yourself. Absolutely. Because if you can't be honest to yourself, who can you be honest to?
Exactly. Yeah. Last one then before we review it.
Okay, the person who you were 10 years ago is not the person you are today. So don't let anybody make you think otherwise.
It's a really good quote, that one, because a lot of people who you've known for quite some time judge you based on the person that you were so many years ago, and they still assume that you're that person. And I found that it's like, you react like this when you're drunk, or you're notorious for this, but really that was the 18, 19-year-old me. So why does that apply to me now I'm 29, 30? And I think that's one of the things I definitely wanted to put in at 30, things at 30, because it's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. People need to judge you for who you are now and your achievements now on merit, rather than the characteristics that you possessed 10 years ago, when really, when you look at yourself now, you think, wow, I was just a complete baby 10 years ago, really, in comparison to who I am now.
That really resonates with me. I'm sure that resonates with a lot of my inner circle of friends as well. That is a really good food for thought sort of quote.
Do you have a particular favourite?
Out of those, wow, we've gone through a lot. Let me just have a little
That's
recap.
20.
That last one was really really powerful.
Saved the belter for 20, didn't I?
You did.
I think for me that was one of the, I don't know, it came to me quite late in my messages, because I thought, actually, a lot of people judge themselves on the same sort of parameters that they were 10 years ago, and it's not the case. Yeah, you might expect a little bit more of yourself. You think, oh, come on, I should have grown up a bit by now. But you still give yourself those judgments, maybe. And I think as well, it comes down to, I suppose, how you progress through your 20s. Are you still living with your parents, kind of thing as well? Because I feel like maybe parents have that same sort of expectation of you, of like, oh, this is how you've grown up, because obviously you've always been there, you've always been in that house, you've always been a part of that family unit, but you've changed, you've grown, you've adapted. And that's why it's important, I suppose, to meet new people in your life as well. So, last 10. Number 21.
Okay, we often think about how far up the mountain we have to go, rather than stopping and looking at how far we've come.
So this was a quote that I wrote, well, sort of etched in my mind really, but wrote when I was doing the Three Peaks, UK Three Peaks with my dad. So my dad was doing it at about, well, he was in his early 50s, and there was a team of 20-somethings completing this challenge of climbing the 3 highest peaks in the UK in 23 hours. And he was finding things pretty tough at the back. I don't think we really realised, either of us, the scale of the challenge that was ahead of us. We did sort of do a little bit of training, but it wasn't really anything that could compare. From where we live in Hull, we couldn't really compare to what we was going to face. And he just kept his head down and kept grafting and doing so well. But there was a little point in the sort of, not expedition, but in the challenge, where he just said, oh, we've got this to go. And he kept telling me about how far we have to go. So I stopped him and I said, Dad, we often think about how far up the mountain we have to go, but we don't stop and look back at how far we've come. And I said, stop now and take a look. And you couldn't really see. I think the clouds were pretty much covering where we were, so you couldn't really look down. But I said, look how high we are, look how far we've come. And it's a bit like life. We don't really stop and think, I've done really well here. I've maybe deserved certain, rewards or anything that's come my way. We don't think about how far we've actually progressed.
And sometimes I don't think it has to be what you've achieved. Sometimes I think you just need to pause and appreciate what's around you. Yeah. And then if you sit back and take that time out, the following day, you'll have more energy and more like guts and passion to go do what you need to do.
Yeah, I often refer to your body as like an iPhone battery, and that you need to be on 100% to be able to function. I know this is slightly off on a tangent a little bit, but you do need to recharge. And also, a little bit like when you're in an aeroplane, they always tell you to make sure you put your oxygen mask on before you serve others, and you cannot help other people and be that person that you want to be if you can't help yourself first. So you always need to remember to look at how far you've come and give yourself a little bit of time as well to fully recharge and make sure that you are at your optimum. So, next one, number 22? 22.
Find yourself mentors that can help spur you on.
Yeah, so in my last sort of 10 years, I've got certain people around me who I would classify as a mentor. Not everyone who I classify as a mentor probably knows that they are, but I look up to those people and think, right, I would like to sort of emulate what you have done and go from there, really. My current mentor, I will probably say, is my boss, the head teacher in my school, who's made such a great success of himself, really good at speaking and delivering training, and I'd like to sort of follow in those footsteps, really, and I look up to him a lot. And yeah, I just think it's really important to have somebody in your life that you aspire to, or maybe aspire to be like, but also that you want to sort of emulate that kind of success as well. And I would say that my biggest sort of mentor, my hero, is my father, because ultimately we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but that would be my ultimate purpose cycle. I think he's always been a hero of mine anyway.
Oh, that's really nice, that, John.
Thanks.
Next one. That becoming a great husband and a dad is my purpose.
Yeah, so I wrote that because you always think, oh, right, I want to, make X amount of money, or I want to drive this car, or I want this house. And really, I haven't, and I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but I haven't felt any less fulfilled. Maybe not happiness, because I'd put that maybe as something a little bit separate, but I haven't felt any less fulfilled being in my old house with you than I am in this house with you, because the common factor is I'm with you. So actually, being with somebody who makes you feel like home is actually more important than buying the big house yourself. And having an aspiration to be, like I've said in the previous lesson, like my hero, my dad, would be a purpose of mine, to become a really good husband for you, and also to become a great dad to some children as well. I think that'd be a great thing, because what great rewards to have than to make someone else's life better and help them achieve their goals as well.
I love how he said some children. How many children?
Well, we'll see what the universe throws at us, I suppose.
Really?
Fingers crossed.
Next question. Reading exercises the mind.
Yeah, I learnt this quite late. I've always sort of half been into books, but I never fully committed. And I started reading during the first lockdown last year in the UK. And I found so much value from it. I started reading some of Ant Middleton's books, and I love the way he tells stories. I think the way he actually goes through certain situations and stories is absolutely incredible. So I started reading, obviously my first, and those who have listened to Positive Changes to Self-Kick podcast that I was on with Shelley Knight, I talk about the first self-help book that I went and read, and it was actually, it's led to getting you today, I suppose, Sarah, about how to meet women and be good at like talking and be confident and generate relationships. If you think the film Hitch, then you're somewhere along the right lines, basically. And that was basically my self-development journey. But I never really thought about it in terms of switching off and exercising your mind, and it's a great way of actually doing both at the same time. So now reading before I go to sleep has really helped me, and I've been a little bit sporadic with that since we moved into the new house, because I found that moving into something that I considered to be a huge goal was a little bit like what Tyson Fury sort of calls the top of the mountain, the Klitschko effect of he's achieved his goal, then what happens after that, and it sort of like doesn't really, I mean, I haven't had anything as severe as Tyson Fury, of course, but it would be something along the lines of I've slackened up on quite a lot of things, such as my reading, such as trying to wake up early and trying to make sure I do all of my blogging and things like that as well. I don't think I've blogged since I've entered the new home, so yeah, little things like that I need to get back on top of again. But exercising the reading is definitely is something that I love doing. What are your thoughts about reading?
I love reading, but like you said, it's the first thing that drops off the list when you've got a million things to do because you're so tired. And I'll open a book and I'll get about 2 lines in and I'll be asleep because I'm just so tired. So usually reading is a big part of the holidays for me, especially if I was jetting off on a plane somewhere.
Yeah.
There'd be a few books in the bank.
Right, well, we're 25 down. We've got 5 lessons to go.
Okay, exercise is critical for my mental health.
Yeah, I found it so important. I do struggle when I'm not able to exercise, and I've also found that I need to sort of be more specific as well, because I've gone back to football. I was trying to do a little bit of running, and I also enjoyed going to the gym, and I also enjoyed playing golf. But what exercise really does make me happy, so it's not just try and do everything that you can. I think I needed to narrow it down a little bit. Going to the gym really does make me happy. I think that's the biggest one for me. If golf was banned again by the government, COVID and all of that, then fair enough. I'd miss it loads because I love playing golf. It's a game that I love doing. However, the gym is so important. Like, when they closed the gyms, I went I didn't obviously suffer really bad from mental health, because I had a lot of other things to do, but I did find it have a little bit of an effect. Did you see a bit of a change?
100%, yeah, massively. When you started going back to the gym, getting you to go back to the gym was difficult, but once you step foot in there, now it's just really easy. But I've struggled with my mental health quite a lot in the past, and I speak for a lot of people who have been have tried different methods to cope with it, and I can honestly say that if you're a person that suffers and you do not give the gym or exercise a huge good go, then you are putting the barrier up to yourself straight away, because that is the best medicine, without a doubt.
Yeah, relating to that, we've got a friend of yours, Sophie Godson, coming on to the podcast this season, which will be really good because she gives a really good insight on it, and she's got a story that actually goes into what her new sort of found passion and career is as well. So
I'm so excited for that.
It's going to be great. Honestly, you'll love it.
So excited. The next one. The best thing to do is spreadsheet your finances and not be an ostrich. That is so true.
I think I was a bit of a financial ostrich. I would literally bury my head in the sand and think all of these problems will go away. I'd never check my balance. This is before the days of online banking at uni. I'd never put my card in the pin machine and check my balance before I withdrew money.
I mean, getting you to open mail's difficult still, so you've come a long way.
Yeah, well, I've tried to go Pay Plus and everything, so I think they've got no excuse there, really. I'm trying to save the environment, but it is a difficult thing.
When you think back to 3 years ago, or more than that, maybe 4, when we first moved into the first house, we were so sheltered about our finances. We weren't open at all. It was a real sticking point. I didn't want to talk to you about my money. You didn't want to talk to me about yours. And how we are now, it's a completely different situation. And I do believe you won me over with the spreadsheets, because that was something I did not want to do. But it really does help.
It's weird because you're financial education from your dad and everything. You'd think you'd be absolutely on it because your dad is so good with money, and you've got accountancy in the family and all these different things. Whereas in my family, no offence, but we're just not great with looking at how to effectively manage money. I think, and that's in comparison to accountants or bankers and things like that. Not the average person. And I thought, Sarah would be absolutely exceptional with money, and we've both found actually we've helped each other quite a lot, and looking at the spreadsheet, and that's part of the being honest with yourself and the transparency. It's there, so, and you've actually got a plan in the direction to where you want to go as well.
And so many people laugh at us about having a spreadsheet, but I don't care because it's changed our lives. So be a spreadsheet person.
Yeah, and not being ostrich. I can't believe people laugh at us, but anyway.
Okay, material possessions do not mean anything in the long term.
Yeah, so this is something that was quite prevalent in my early 20s. For example, when I went to America and I bought an iPhone, I was I'm going to be out there for 9 months, I need an iPhone. Why did I need that? Why did I need the newest iPhone? I'd never had an iPhone before, so that was the first iPhone that I'd owned. But why did I need it? I felt like it was really important. I felt like it's always important to get myself a car that looked good. I always wanted certain things. I'd waste so much money on clothes. I mean, you wouldn't actually believe it because now I don't spend anything on clothes, do I? But when I was in my early 20s, I was a jerk.
I cannot believe it because I don't think you've ever bought and you just don't buy anything.
All my clothes are from when I was like 21.
Just don't tell the world.
Honestly, I was horrendous for it, and especially when the student loan came in or anything else, I would just blow it straight away, and it was just beyond material things. I was trying to live like a weekend millionaire, like champagne lifestyle, lemonade wages, and that was my life.
There's no way of telling any 18, 19-year-old any different. I speak from speaking to my sisters now, trying to say, honestly, don't do what I did. Save your money. You don't need to buy all these things, and they just don't listen. And I didn't listen to my older sister. You've got to figure these things out for yourself.
Yeah, I think it's something that you just learn, do it as you go.
As you turn 30.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, and being frugal actually isn't a bad thing, especially if you start to think about investing. So I can't remember what it was. There was something that I was going to buy.
The hot tub. Let's talk about the hot tub.
Yeah, so to be honest, I was thinking about this hot tub a while ago, and I was like, B&M do a good hot tub, and I was like, well, I can't afford it at the minute, but I've got £150 spare. I'll put £150 into shares of B&M, and that as an investment had turned out good over time because it came up to about 215 during the biggest economic crisis of our generation. So, never mind what it would be normally. And it's helped pay for things for the house that we needed to do. So actually making a decision, I know a lot of people think, do I buy an iPhone for $400 or do I invest $400 into Apple as a company? Those things like big financial decisions. But if you can live a sort of minimalistic lifestyle while still being happy and not being over the top, then I think that's a really good balance.
If you're not making someone else's life better, then you're wasting your time.
Yeah, so this is a really big quote that I learned during my 20s because when our friend Stephen passed away, this was actually in his phone notes and his parents found this quote. And if you're not making someone else's life better, you're wasting your time. It makes you think about other people, not yourself. So how can you make someone's day? Now for me, the amount of people that I interact with every single day, there'll be parents, children, staff members. Like for example, I'll see the cleaner right at the end of the day every single day without fail, same cleaner. Now if I've had a bad day and I'm rude to her, then that could ruin her day. She could have been having a fantastic day. We've not crossed paths at all during the day, and then once we cross paths, if I have that negative effect on her, that could completely spoil her day. Or even worse, she could be having a terrible day and I can make her feel even worse about herself. So what's the point in making other people miserable? Try every single opportunity to make someone happy. It just makes you feel good as well. I mean, there's a really powerful video that I've seen on a teaching group before, and it's this teacher in China, I think it is, and he's in the corridor and he's actually crying. He's got like something going on in his life, and he stands outside his classroom and he wipes his eyes, he sort of shrugs his shoulders, gets himself hyped up, puts on this smile. He literally starts smiling like out of nowhere, and then takes a breath and walks into his class. And I think that is like the most powerful thing, because that's how you should be in life. You should be like, right, and I'm not saying fake your emotions or anything like that, but if you're actually acting kind and you're making someone else's life better, I can absolutely guarantee that you feel better yourself.
100%.
Last lesson.
Okay. Have no regrets in the 16th second.
So this is a speech that I watched. There's a couple of really amazing speeches that I've seen, and this one, and I'm going to play it to you afterwards, Sarah, is this high school graduate, and he's talking about an award that he's won for being the top student in his school, and he said, this award was, I want to thank everybody for it. I've worked so hard, I've sacrificed everything from it, and it felt great for about 15 seconds. Everybody was cheering. I went through complete elation, and I was delighted for 15 seconds. And I thought, is that it? Is that all I get? for all of that work I put in, from breaking relationships, like not seeing my friends, not going out having fun, not participating in sports, neglecting my sleep pattern, all for 15 seconds. And what he's saying is, he's so grateful that he learnt this lesson when he's at school, because it could have been the fact that he sabotaged his family life for his career. He would sacrifice his loved ones for fame. All of these different things that you sacrifice almost unnecessarily at the expense of relationships gives you that regret. So what he's saying is, have no regrets in that 16th second. When that 16th second hits, have no regrets. And that would be concluding our 30 things at 30. There's a really, really amazing bonus lesson that I want to tell you that my dad taught me. He sent me it. It's a great lesson some years ago now, and it always resonates with me. So I'm going to give you this bonus lesson before we go. So the lesson goes as follows. A professor stood before his class and had some items in front of him. When the class began, he picked up a jar and filled it up with rocks, which were about 2 inches in diameter, and he asked the students if they thought it was full. They agreed that it was. So then the professor picked up a box of pebbles and poured them into the jar, and he shook the jar lightly, and the pebbles rolled into the open areas. He asked again if the jar was full, and the students laughed and agreed it was. Next, after that, the professor picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. Of course, the sand filled up everything else that was there. Now, said the professor, I want you to recognise that this is your life. The rocks are the important things. Your family, your partner, your health and your children. Things that if everything else was lost and only they remained, your life would still be full. The pebbles are the other things that matter, like your job, your house, your car. And the sand is everything else, the small stuff. If you put the sand into the jar first, there's no room for the pebbles or the rocks. The same goes for your life. If you spend all of your time and energy on the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are important to you. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Play with your children. Take time to get medical checkups. Take your partner out dancing. There will always be time to go to work, clean the house, give it a dinner party, and fix the disposal. Take care of the rocks first, the things that really matter. Set your priorities. The rest is just sand. But then, the student took the jar, which the other students and the professor agreed was full, and proceeded to pour in a glass of beer. Of course, the beer filled the remaining spaces within the jar, making the jar truly full. The moral of this tale is no matter how full your life is, there is always room for a beer. And I really like that story because it just makes you just think, don't worry about all the things that seem to bother you and seem to take up your time. Make sure that you prioritise your life accordingly, and of course there is always time for a beer or just to chill out if you need to. So thank you very much for this episode, Ching Chin Sarah. Thank you for joining me on the episode.
Thank you for having me.
How was your Purple Cycle podcast debut?
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for listening, everybody, and I'm really looking forward to bringing you some of the episodes that are following it in season 2. Make sure that you're subscribed to see them all, and until next time, I will see you later.
Watch me not stop though. Stand right.